Hi, welcome to Watcher DM. I'm Gabriel, and today I am taking a look at West March's Campaign Playstyle Guidebook by Carl Otto Christofferson. It is written and designed by Carl Otto Christofferson, and art by Ink Potion Studios, which I believe is his... Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I am unsure who that is, but otherwise there is public domain art or licensed art from Canva, and lists the typography. And you can go check out his work at carlautochristofferson.com. Yeah. This book is about how to run a West Marches game. Now, I am going to say there is an affiliate link down below that you should click on if you want to pick this up. That'll help the channel here. And if you want to help the channel in other ways, you can click like on this video or subscribe. Hit the bell icon if you want to be notified. And otherwise, you can go to watcherdm.com to get any of our adventure books. Or you can go to patreon.com/watcherdm if you want to support me directly and get exclusive access to some of the stuff I make over there. This West Marches book was sent to me by Carl for free as a PDF. So this is a version that I printed myself at home so that I could do this review. He did offer to send me a print-on-demand copy from DriveThru, but shipping from the US right now is kind of a nightmare and honestly would cost a lot. I am going to order one at some point soon, just because I want a nice printed copy of this book. I think it's really good. But that's what we're looking at here. So I'm not going to talk about the book's construction because this is my construction and it's bad. The foreword talks about why Carl wrote this book. And it is because he was looking for a book like it, which I think is the best reason to write any of these. I need a great adventure, write a great adventure, and then publish it so that everybody else has a great adventure too. I think necessity is the mother of invention, and what a sweet mother she is. The table of contents here. The book is broken up over 6 chapters. It's about 44 pages of content, so they are relatively terse and kind of... they have just the information you need. It is not going to take you all day to read this book, and can be a nice reference. So we'll start over here at chapter 1, which actually... Interestingly, I think it just talks about what is the West Marches play. So this is a very simple setup of what West Marches is. And then this is the origin story of West Marches with some fantastic art. And then a world waiting to be explored. So it talks about kind of some of the... basically the premise behind West Marches and why it works as a game system. So, and what some of the special things about the style are. Which, of course, West Marches is very much exploration themed. And as he's kind of showing here, it's like a map with a bunch of pins in it. And so you can explore that map as you want and get some cool stuff going on, like let the story emerge from play. And then it talks about the core principles of West Marches. And so he's talking about the 6 kind of big ideas that make West Marches different. The players drive the game is the first key. And this is actually one of the hardest things to kind of get going because where in most games, the DM is the one kind of setting the pace for things. The idea here is that your players set the pace. And what this means is you need proactive players, and that is not necessarily what you're going to find out there by and large. You're mostly going to find players who are relatively passive. So this does require some cultivation of a certain type of friend group who are willing to join you on the journey of putting these games together and playing them. If you can find those people, West Marches is astounding. And that's what he's kind of talking about here, which is great. That's the setup. Exploration is the goal, is another fundamental part of West Marches that he describes very well here, which is basically antithema to the playing to win or playing out of power fantasy. Like, in most cases, you're kind of playing to find out. And so that's a core principle of West Marches. The hometown is safe. Again, a very kind of unique part of West Marches is that the location where the party goes back to at the end of each adventure is safe. It will not be attacked there. There will be no political plots. Is really, really stripped down to just being a place they can rest safely and recuperate and get treasure and spend their treasure to buy equipment, buy information, get maps, things like that. And then players share what they discover is another principle. And so basically the idea is to have like a shared map and like notes that the players can use to kind of prompt each other into exploring more of the world. And this is like such a fundamental part. It's actually a little bit tricky to pull off because, again, you need players who are going to actively engage with whatever that mechanism is. If it's a physical map, they're going to need to look at a physical map. If it's a website, you got to put a website together, you got to manage that, and people need to be able to come see it. So it's important to get that working. The GM runs the world, not the story, is another section here. And so again, this just talks about the story emerging from play and not really, not relying on the GM to craft a narrative, instead letting the players create a narrative out of the actions that occur during play. So being a neutral arbiter, being a neutral GM, this is pretty drastically different from the way that most of the modern 5e games especially talk to the DM about what they'll be doing. So I think it's important to have this in mind. If you're new to DMing and you don't know what this is, you're like, what? This isn't how I run games. That's fine. That's understandable. This isn't probably what you were told you'd be doing. But this is a very satisfying way to play. This, I would say, West Marches, more than almost any other playstyle, treats the GM much more like a player, in that in many ways the GM will be finding out what is happening along with the players. And only plan one session at a time. Rule number 6. So this is actually super important as well, because it is unknown what will happen between each session or when the next session will be. You only ever need to prepare for one session at a time. And so what happens is the players will come and they will say, yeah, we want to go explore that cave that we got this rumor about. It's on our map, right? It's only a day or so away. And the GM will say, great, I will prep that cave. End the way there. And then the GM will go off and prep that. He will run that session. They will run that session and execute on the expectations of the players. They will come back to town at the end. And then the GM can go ahead and update, well, this is what they did in the cave. This is what got wiped out. And there'll be some other stuff going on after that. But, then the next time it comes in, they will plan another session. So only ever plan one session at a time. And then this is how Chapter 2, starting your West Marches campaign. Very, very simple layout here with a really clear information architecture. I think it says what it needs to say. There's probably some, you could expound on much of this stuff more verbosely, but I think the heart of it is here. So the first thing you want to do is create a safe home base. Pretty straightforward. Then you sketch the wilderness, which is, again, largely just setting up terrain. Usually this is done using a hex map, but you can really use any kind of, mapping that you want, or no map. It's fine to just make a big flowchart. That's also an option. Adventure hooks. So you want to set up some adventure hooks that the players can find initially. These are usually circumstances, or it's got some examples here. Old Tom's, there's a treasure buried where 3 rivers meet. Where on the map do 3 rivers meet? Because that's where they should go looking for that treasure. A farmer saw tracks bigger than any bear near their stone woods. Okay, there's stone woods. What is it that's making these bigger tracks? These are your adventure seeds, and you're just going to do that. And I love this, right? Keep the rumors short, mysterious, and a little vague. Some might be true or partially true. Let the players find out. Let players update the rumors as they explore the growing world. Oh, it turns out there was no beast over by Stonewoods. It was the halflings with a big footprint thing, and they were making like, anything that happens can become information for the future and be telling to the players about how the world works. Set up shared tools. This is a big deal. This is probably the biggest deal. It's kind of strange that it only gets a half page, but this is the thing. Ask players to help with updates. It's a team effort, right? You really want this. This is kind of the critical component that makes West Marches work in the modern world. I could not imagine doing West Marches before the internet. That would be painful. Invite people and explain the rules. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, you can play whenever you want. Just make a group and plan a session. So really, really, I love how this sets up. This sets you up for success in a West Marches, which is great. Like, this is really the stuff you need to do to get a West Marches off the ground. And then we talk about how to run a West Marches session in Chapter 3. So it talks about planning the session, preparing the group. I love the art. There's so much art in this that is just fantastic. Running the expedition. So this is really cool. He talks about kind of the different parts, travel, exploration, and encounters, and then a few recommendations during play, which is, great. Keeps it very concise, on the point. Embracing character death. This can be a little challenging. Much of this comes down to your players. Like, younger players, I know especially, can sometimes have a difficult time dealing with character death. They feel like it's a failing. And you know what? Honestly, older players sometimes have the same problem. So I guess that's a pretty unfair statement. But yeah, if you can get on board with the idea of the risks your character are taking, potentially manifesting in death, that's going to help a lot. Alternately, you can set up a West Marches campaign where death isn't really possible. Imagine a West Marches in the Land of Dreams, or in the Land of the Dead, where everybody's already dead. You can't really die again. Valhalla, right, is a great West Marches location where everybody can go running around the Nordic, afterlife, underworld, and explore and do stuff and have adventures, all with the threat of death only being a send back to the beginning to have mead kind of thing. So there's ways around this, but fundamentally, because you can end up in places where things are just more powerful than you are, you do need to be prepared to handle character death. Oh, yeah, and this is where my stapler did some weird things. So, returning to town. One of the golden rules is that you always end a session back in town. And then you do the aftermath, which is experience, treasure, and loot. And then kind of update everything with the session information. So update that shared map. Update those shared rumors and notes. Pretty straightforward. And then between adventures, so this is what's really interesting about West Marches, is that between adventures there's a lot of time for activity to happen. And this is actually where you want activity to be happening, is you want people, to be healing and crafting and training and preparing and doing things, but you also want them to be setting up the next group and the next adventure and sharing the information and talking about what they're excited about and going and planning what their next execution should be. So it talks about downtime activities, which is great. Most rule systems will have downtime activities that you can use, but if they don't, you can come up with some yourself. An Adventurers Guild. It talks about the Adventurers Guild, which works well if you're like, I need a kind of reason for all these different disparate characters to be, going out into the wilderness and doing different things. The Adventurers Guild is a nice glue to bind those characters together. Talks about sharing knowledge. So this is those session reports, updating the shared map, marking known dangers, using gold and making it matter. So this comes down to how to use up the treasure that the players that the characters are inevitably going to find while they explore, and some ways to kind of make sure that need for treasure is ever present. I think one of my favorite mechanisms for this is the Shadow Dark Carousing, which basically allows you to use money to buy additional XP for your character. So that can be really, really good. Lamentations of the Flame Princess is a very similar system. And then time keeps moving on. So an important characteristic about this type of play is that the time is either real time or near real time, meaning between sessions, an amount of time passes. He does say here you don't need to keep a perfect calendar, just track time loosely. Maybe a week passes between sessions, unless otherwise stated. But effectively, having a way to make sure that the world continues to move and that things continue to happen, like the dungeon getting refilled, or new rumors, or rumors are changed, new threats emerge, stuff like that, is all really good. Giving your world time to kind of breathe is a great way to keep the West Marches feeling fresh. And then chapter 5, tools, templates, and tips for GMs. So this chapter gives you some ready-to-use tools. It talks about essential tools, and then physical tools. It talks about a session prep template. So a simple way to, a simple list of what to prepare. And then some discussion about how to design encounters. And then here is a session report template, a downtime action template, a guild or town upgrade proposal template. You can print these out and share them with your players, or you can just make a form in your Discord or something that has these in there, and they can easily be generated and put together. And then chapter 6, sample play structures and final advice. So it talks in this section about, so this is like an example, sample player-facing document, an example session report. So it takes some of those previous templates and shows you examples of them being filled out. Campaign kickoff checklist, long-term campaigns, so just how to do that. So some tips for making sure your campaign lasts. Some tips for expanding the world. And then some final thoughts here. West Marches isn't about telling a perfect story. It's about creating a living world and letting players explore it together at their own pace with real choices and real stakes. It's a style of play that invites discovery, encourages teamwork, and thrives on surprise. So yeah, I think... all told, I really like this this engraving that they used for the cover. It's beautiful. But I think this is a good book if you are planning on running a West Marches campaign, which actually we are. So we're going to be kicking off a West Marches campaign soon, and I intend to kind of use this book and put it through the paces and see if it delivers on the promise. But from what I've read so far, I think if you are unfamiliar with West Marches, or you want some guidance on West Marches and you want to be able to get started, this is a good book at a good value for a beginner who wants to get started trying things out. So pick it up on DriveThruRPG. Give it a rating, a review there. What did you think? Sound off in the comments below. Tell me about your experience with West Marches, or what you think of this book, if you know of any other books that tackle the subject well. And thanks so much for playing.